The storm had passed, but its traces were still visible. Everywhere I drove, there was water standing everywhere around me. On top of all, I wasn't sure if I was on the right road, and I had a lot of questions in my head. All in all, it worked pretty well. The flood was too bad for some of the main roads, but on a motorbike it was easy to sneak around. I just looked what the locals are doing and followed them, and I made it to Langson. The girl at the reception in the hotel was the first person I've seen in 4 days who was able to speak English with me. I spent there talking with her for 20 minutes because you feel pretty lonely when the only way to talk with someone is the translating app. And also she was kind happy that there are tourists there on this road because the most of the tourists cancelled their trip because of the flood. Well, I like adventures, that's why I would never cancel a trip because of a rainfall or something like this. As long as there's still a way to go, I try my best to go there. Where I've picked up my bike rental, the guy from the shop introduced me to a few traffic laws of Vietnam. Also, he told me I should stay away from the main road. Well, because of the flood, it was the only way for me to go to the north of Vietnam because the smaller roads were either blocked or destroyed. But the main roads there are pretty chilled. I don't really know how busy this road can be. When I was there, most of the trucks got stuck somewhere from the flood water. This is the border to China, so all the import and export goes to this road. That's why I think on normal conditions there's a lot more traffic. But even with more traffic, I think it's easy to handle. There's more than enough space for trucks and bikes as well. I wasn't sure if I make it that day, because on the morning there was another warning from Chao Bang that there is a flood right between Lang Son and Chao Bang. Chao Bang was the first place on my bucket list. There's the God's Eye Mountain and the waterfall on the border to China. I'm almost on the half of my way, but it's pretty exhausting. It goes up and down the hill, left and right, the corners. Absolutely beautiful road, but in first I thought, why does it take so long for this distance? In Vietnam, you can't cover many kilometers in a day due to the road conditions, winding roads and low speed limits. In Australia, for example, I easily get 500 kilometers out of a day from bike riding, while in Vietnam, for the same time, I get 200 kilometers. Chao Bang got hit from the flood pretty bad. The day before I was here, the water was even higher, and while I was riding through the center of the city, there was one bridge still completely blocked. Only a small bridge for bike riders was still open. By the time I arrived in the village, most of the restaurants were closed due to the blackout. After the flood, the homestays were affected too, which is why it took some time to find a hotel to stay at. Chao Bang is a remote village in northern Vietnam, close to the Chinese border. The region is known for dramatic limestone mountains, deep valleys, and winding roads. It is home to Ban Giok Waterfall, one of the largest waterfalls in Southeast Asia. Due to the terrain and travel conditions, the travel here is slow, but the landscape makes every kilometer worth it. Now it's good that I have my sunglasses with me, and it's bad timing. My plan was to go here a lot earlier. If I would be here 5 minutes sooner, it would be free because you got stuck just a few seconds ago, and now I don't really know what's the plan. A truck got stuck in the corner. After the disaster with the flood, this was the second time I got stuck somewhere, but it was easy to fix that problem. They started to move their truck slightly forward, and then the bikes were able to pass. The cars had to wait a lot longer. I was happy to have an off-road motorbike riding up to God's Eye Mountain. Since the last few kilometers were on gravel, other tourists made it up on scooters as well, just a bit slower. You don't really need an off-road motorcycle to travel Vietnam, and on longer trips I'd actually recommend against it. The slow traffic means a lot of constant gear shifting, and you run into a serious problem if you need spare parts for a bigger engine like the 150cc M. Found a few things out, because on the pictures that I've seen online it looks a lot different than now. That's because of the rain. Normally the area in front of the mountain is completely dried out, so you can walk there. But now, because of the hurricane, everything here is flooded and these boats are there. Because I was wondering, I thought maybe on the other side there's a place where you can walk through that mountain, but actually it's about the dry season and the wet season. So in a half year this area will be completely green and there will be no water left. A friend of mine was at God's Eye Mountain just a few weeks after me. The valley was completely dry and he could walk around there. I think this area is best visited during the dry season because it gives you more opportunities for hiking. If you watched that video till that point, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. See you later. Cheers.